Oh, what is going on, Ada Nation? Oh, welcome to Dapp Central. My name is Fareed. Today, I'm joined by Daniel Sampson, aka the CEO of Metera, which is going to be a platform for decentralized indexes building on Cardano. Daniel, thank you for coming on the channel. How are you doing today?
Hi, Farid. Pretty happy to be here with you, and thank you for the opportunity.
Not a problem. You reached out to me quite a bit back, and I've been doing my best to keep up with it, with what you guys are building. And I'm excited to break down, your recent progress as a part of today's video. Now, as always, before we jump into the actual content, I want to just quickly run over our agenda. And for the viewers watching this particular video, if you guys want to jump to any portion of today's interview, then make sure, as always, to go ahead and use the timestamps down below. Now, as I mentioned, the Metera platform is going to provide a decentralized way to create and invest in tokenized portfolios, or MTKs, building on Cardano. The first thing I want to do is get a brief introduction or overview of the protocol here from Daniel himself. Following that, we're going to jump into some of the benefits as well as the security on the Metera platform. Now, once we wrap that up, we're going to jump into some of the juicy stuff here surrounding their recent development. And then we're going to see if we can squeeze out a testnet or a mainnet date here from Daniel. So no pressure there, Daniel. You're always welcome to drop some alpha here on the channel. We definitely do appreciate it. Following that, we're going to jump into some of their recent partnerships. And then they've got an ongoing ISPO that I want to bring to you guys' attention. And then last but not least, we're going to touch on the roadmap and their future vision. That said, Daniel, that is going to be quite a lengthy list here. Again, I'm excited to have you on the channel. Let's go ahead and just jump right on in. Do you mind maybe just briefly touching on what Metera is and what it's bringing to the Cardano ecosystem?
Yeah, of course, Farid. Well, Metera is a DeFi platform that we're building in the Cardano ecosystem. We've been building for over 2 years now, and our main mission is to bring index token and tokenized portfolios to the Cardano ecosystem. We aim to bring liquidity into the chain. We as portfolio managers and asset managers in the past know that one of the best ways to get exposure to an emerging market or a bunch of different assets in an ecosystem, the best way to do that is through index tokens that can set benchmarks of the ecosystem as a whole, and also to follow different strategies of portfolio managers. So we aim to provide a marketplace of different indexes and strategies to the users so they can get exposure to the Cardano ecosystem seamlessly and in a decentralized way.
Thank you for that brief introduction, Daniel. If I understand it correctly, this is going to be a platform that allows us within the Cardano community the ability to invest in multiple assets holding a single MTK. Now, with that understanding, what makes a platform like Metera different when it comes to investing in traditional finance or when it comes to investing in a single asset?
Awesome question, Farid. And yeah, you're right. So what we're doing is that we're basically making shares of different portfolios or baskets of assets. If you invest into one MTK, you're basically holding a portion of the underlying assets. This is a great way to get exposure to different assets and different sectors in the Cardano ecosystem. You could be investing in a top 10 ecosystem index of the Cardano ecosystem. And what this basically does is that it gets you exposure to the top 10 assets weighted by market caps. And you can also explore different other strategies set by portfolio managers. I think one of the big things that we have as value is that we're trying to decentralize the traditional asset management. This is achieved by transparency. When everything is happening on chain, and by the way Metera works, you can always track the underlying assets on the portfolio, and you can easily buy into a portfolio or redeem your share of that portfolio. So we're trying to bring transparency, also have decentralized methods on how portfolio managers can have access to the underlying assets. Typically, when you invest in a portfolio, let's say a hedge fund, you trust them with your money, and they have access to your money and they can do anything they want with the money. How we work and the way we've set up our smart contracts, the portfolio manager never has access to that money. So it's basically a big liquidity pool that can only be interacted by minting these MTK tokens or by burning them.
Thank you for that. And you actually touched on one of the next pieces I want to jump into, which is going to be security and the way that assets are managed. So you just mentioned there that fund managers will not actually have direct access to the funds on the platform, which I think is key. But can you maybe elaborate on some of the additional pieces of security that are in place to make sure that users' funds and their data are stored properly and securely?
Yes, of course. So we have two types of portfolios in the Metera platform, one of them being index tokens, and the other one functions more like mutual funds. When we speak about mutual funds, we have a portfolio manager that is directly setting the weights or the target weights of the portfolio. When I say target weights, I refer to the strategy that this portfolio manager is trying to achieve with the liquidity provided to a portfolio. The only interaction that they have with the assets or the underlying assets is that they are able to change those target weights in order to rebalance with new orders. So we've set up a system where the only way to interact with the vaults, which are smart contracts that hold all of the assets under management, is by either depositing liquidity and minting MTKs, or either by burning MTKs and withdrawing the liquidity. So this is basically a security guard where we can assure that the portfolio manager cannot have access to those tokens or underlying assets. He cannot sell the assets. He cannot transfer the assets to another wallet. On the other side, we have index tokens, which work a little bit different, which are meant to track the overall ecosystem or a specific sector. These won't have a specific portfolio manager. They will be handled by the Metera DAO. And we are working on something called token curated registries, which are basically lists of assets curated by the community via governance. So all of the weights on those index tokens will be decided by the community, and no one, again, will have access to those funds.
Thank you for that. And when it comes to governance, I know you guys have recently partnered up with the Clarity DAO. What are your kind of future plans and thoughts around allowing the community to, like you just mentioned there, create and drive the direction of some of the funds that we're seeing on Metera?
So, one of our main points, or where we plan to start with governance towards the Metera platform, is that we want the community to curate a list of assets that could be included in MTKs. So this list will always serve as a reference point when a portfolio manager wants to create a new MTK, for them to be able to include an asset in that MTK. We have decided on doing this because we we have identified some ways that people could act or do bad things with our own portfolios. Let's say they could create a series of fake tokens, and via our platform, which is basically a marketplace, they could try to get liquidity through our users. So we want the DAO to constantly be betting and taking off assets or adding new assets that can be used via the platform. And eventually, as we grow, we want to start rolling out those index tokens, which will have a lot more parameters in the way that we make the decision, or we as a DAO make the decision on how to weight those indexes. We're still trying to figure that out. We're speaking with the community, trying to find the best way to engage with the community towards those indexes.
Got it. I recently had Justin as well as Logan Pancho on the channel here,
Yeah.
and I had to shout you guys out again. What I see them building on their end and what I see you guys building on your end, I think you guys could be a powerhouse in collaboration with each other, right? And
Yeah,
one of the key things, go ahead.
I just want to mention I met Logan and Justin on Rare Bloom last year. When we started developing Metera, we knew we wanted governance in the Metera platform, and we actually started doing a scope for us to build a governance platform. And it was gonna be time consuming. It was gonna be expensive until we met Clarity and those problems were solved. So yeah, we love those guys.
Yeah, I like them as well. Not only they're bringing off-chain governance, they're bringing on-chain governance. And for me, their user interface is the key thing about what they're developing. And so that was one of the things that I mentioned to them was like people are not trying to rebuild the wheel, and you guys are a perfect example of that, right? Instead of you guys trying to build your own governance platform where that's not really the bread and butter of a platform like Metera, you're able to outsource that to a platform like the Clarity DAO, and then that lets you guys focus more or less on bringing that core offering that Metera is offering or that Metera is bringing to Cardano. So again, interesting conversation there. I'll be keeping an eye out on that and seeing how that develops. But now that we've got an introduction here, let's maybe just touch on where you guys are in terms of development. Now, you were thankful or nice enough, I should say, to give me access to a demo, right? Which was an early preview of what you guys are building. And for the viewers here who are watching this particular interview, I do have that video here linked on the channel. I'll go ahead and leave that down in the description below. But that was an overview of my own personal Dapp Central fund, which I believe included around 10 or so different assets, right? So you guys already have some demos. Since then, what else has been developed and what is the MVP? And if you are willing, can you maybe give us a little bit of an update as to when you guys are planning on at least getting on the testnet?
Yes, for sure. So yeah, we released the demo a couple of months back. We were playing around the UX and UI of the platform. We've been working on it for a long time now, and we set up this kind of mock simulation of how the platform is intended to work for our users to get experience on the UX and UI, and for us to receive feedback. And since then we've raised some money through an NFT sale, and we use that money directly to develop our testnet. We are now developing where we've been developing for over the last month, and we are pretty close to deliver on a testnet. This testnet will be fully working on preview. We'll start adding our NFT holders into the testnet and engage with them to see if we encounter any problems. But we expect the testnet to be fully working by the end of September. So we are about a month and a half until we have a fully working testnet. And the idea is for us to, when we release this new testnet, we're going to release an ISPO to raise more funds towards our building of mainnet.
Thank you for that. And for anybody watching this video, what is the easiest way for them to get prepared to join you guys in the testnet?
So I invite everyone to join the Discord. We've been giving access to the demo to a lot of people. We've been doing a lot of community engagement campaigns through Sealy and through Discord. So if you want to try out the demo, just reach out to a mod on the Discord or to me, and we'll give you access. And the best way to get involved in the testnet is either buying Metera Blue through a secondary market on JPEG Store. You'll have priority access to that testnet. Or we are rolling out with a new NFT collection pretty soon, which hasn't been announced. So if you have access to one of those NFTs as well, you could have access to the testnet as soon as we make it public.
Awesome. And on that note, do you mind maybe introducing the Metera Blue NFTs and what their purpose is within the Metera ecosystem?
Yes. So we have been building for almost 2 years. We had never asked for any public funding, or even we never got money from Catalyst, and we made the decision to fundraise some money for us to deliver on a testnet. We wanted to make sure we had a demo working before we go into any kind of public fundraising. That's where we come up with the Metera Blues. They were 160 ADA per NFT collection, of which we sold around 1,300 of NFTs. Those NFTs acted as a pre-sale towards our Metera token. I should probably say that we plan to launch a token by the end of the year, and this token will be the utility and governance token of the platform. So you'll need the token in order to buy MTKs and to interact with the platform, and also engage in all of the governance forms that we've already talked about. So those NFTs yield 8,800 Meteras over a 6-month vesting period that is going to be claimable through TossyDrop. Those tokens have more or less a 20% discount of the token, uh, or the price that we intend to launch the token with. So basically, users that bought those NFTs as of now have gotten Wi-Fi staking. They are getting their Metera tokens in the future. They are getting a discount over the TG price, and they will have priority on the testnet. And one of the last things is that, because we want to engage in governance as soon as possible, we're about to release a couple of governance proposals. Only Metera Blues holders are able to participate because we don't have a token yet.
So, for anybody watching this, if they're looking to get early access to the Metera demos, as well as just become a member of the Metera crew, head over to jpeg.store. The Metera Blue NFTs are currently available. I see right now around 1,300 items with only, let's see here, about 1% listed. So, not really a lot circulating. Again, I think there's a lot of anticipation for the platform. I definitely do hold some Metera Blues, and I'm looking forward to getting early access to what you guys are building here for the testnet. Now, there's one piece that you mentioned earlier, excuse me, that's gonna kind of segue us into the next portion here for today's video, and that was surrounding your development. Now, you've mentioned how much progress you guys have made, but are you guys working alone? Who have you guys been partnering up with to deliver and to really build what you guys are planning to launch here on the Cardano network?
So we've been building with M Labs for the last year and a half. Recently, we made the decision to onboard a new development team. They are called TX Pipe. They are the ones who created Aiken and also have Demeter. Well, they created Demeter for the apps in Cardano. We've onboarded them for them to handle the release of our testnet, and yeah, I mean, we have a couple of developers on our side. We are using third-party developers like M Labs and TX Pipe at this stage. Eventually, we want to transitioning into a more in-house development team. But I think these are really strong partnerships for us right now. And yeah, I mean, we over the last 2 months, we've been partnering up with a lot of interesting people, and TX Pipe is definitely one of them.
Yeah, I'm happy to hear that. And I think I've seen a few other teams also partnering up with TX Pipe. So I think it's a win-win. Again, it takes a little bit of the load off of you guys. You're able to build with an experienced builder. And it again allows for you to focus on some of the more core aspects that you guys are bringing to the network. Now, to that note, you mentioned earlier in ISPO. So that is going to be done with another partner. Do you mind touching on that partner as well as, what we can expect for the ISPO? Now, I know it's not live just yet, but are there any details that you can share ahead of the actual ISPO launch?
Yes. So the ISPO we're doing is intends to uh, distribute 9% of our overall token supply. We have partnered with Go Maestro in order for them to handle our ISPO. I think they are key partners. They are also helping us with some APIs for our testnet, so it's a great fit for us to work with them. They've also recently released a Fund 10 proposal with Optim, so they are gonna be offering ISPO bonds to every ISPO featured on the Go Maestro platform. So I think it's a really solid partnership, and we're really excited to be working towards them. The ISPO, we want to make sure we deliver the testnet first and that we get some feedback and some users into the testnet before we release the ISPO. And the idea is for us to run the ISPO for a range of 6 to 7 months. In the middle of the ISPO, we will be releasing the token, and yeah, I mean, we're pretty excited. NFT holders will have a boost on the ISPO, so if you hold a Metera Blue or any of the NFTs of Metera, you will be getting a multiplier on the ISPO. And yeah, we're excited to get into that phase soon. This is set also by the end of Q3, so by the end of September.
So, really, a lot of different things coming down in the latter portion of this quarter. Again, we have the ISPO, we've got the testnet, and you know that launch of, I think what you mentioned earlier was an additional NFT. Now we don't have a lot of details surrounding that. Will that also be around the same timeline, or do you plan on doing that maybe in Q4 or into 2024?
No, we're planning on doing that in a couple of weeks from now. When we were doing the Metera Blue NFTs, I made a mistake when setting up the Endmaker collection, and the policy locked before time. So we had about 600 NFTs left for us to fully fundraise. So we are now releasing the remaining NFTs as another collection and rewarding our previous holders for the inconvenience. So we want to make sure that we use the remaining allocation of the pre-sale, which was given to the Metera Blues, for us to end up fundraising what we need to get this into a test net. And yeah, that is coming up, and we'll be announcing pretty soon.
Thank you. I will be keeping my eyes peeled for the launch of that additional NFT collection. Now we're going on about 25 minutes here, Daniel. I want to respect your time. There's one more thing that I want to jump into, actually, two different things I want to jump into, but they're somewhat related. So you've talked about, what you guys are doing, where you guys have gotten so far, but we haven't really talked about the future vision in the remaining portions of your roadmap. So do you mind maybe touching on, what you guys are planning on doing into the future? I'm talking, 2024 and so forth. We know what's coming up in Q3 and potentially Q4, but what is your long-term vision going forward?
So yeah, we intend to launch in the first quarter of 2024 if everything goes according to plan. Um, I think our vision is trying to get more liquidity into the Cardano ecosystem. We've also been developing a lot of impact measurement tools. As traditional managers, we were very experienced in working with ESG ratings and impact investing. So we're trying to bring that into the Cardano ecosystem. We've been developing this open source tool for measuring digital assets under impact metrics for a while now. We released that a couple of months back, and we're working on getting that better. So I think for 2024, once the platform is ready, our main focus is setting ourselves as a platform that can handle a lot of TVL in index tokens and mutual funds, and also put our own, help towards impact investing in the Cardano ecosystem, and maybe helping some of those great projects that are doing great stuff for the environment with Cardano to get more liquidity. So the ideal thing would be for us to be creating benchmarks for the Cardano ecosystem that investors will look to, and for us to be an entry point for newcomers to the Cardano ecosystem, if that's a regular user or an investor, so they can find their way through the Cardano ecosystem and invest in what we've created and what the community has been creating.
Yeah, one thing that you mentioned, and for the sake of time, I know we can't go into a lot of detail, but your impact rating, I think, is huge, right? It really lets people review and understand, some of the risks associated with the particular portfolio and things that they may or may not want as a part of that portfolio. On top of that, what you mentioned there towards the very end, I think for newcomers into the ecosystem, a platform that allows for them to invest in multiple assets in a single go really reduces some of the risks that they're taking coming into such a volatile and emerging market. So I think, again, this will be a win-win, not only for some of the projects that are hosted within some of these portfolios, but also gives a lot of really easy access to people looking to get broad exposure to the growing Cardano ecosystem. That said, Daniel, I want to thank you again for coming onto the channel and for also allowing me to have my own MTK or my own portfolio as a part of your demo. I look forward to continue to collaborate with you and the Metera team. And on that note, I just want to pose you one final question. As a part of today's video, is there any key takeaways or anything that you want to touch on that we haven't gotten a chance to touch on that you want the community here to know?
Yeah, I just wanted to clear some stuff up. I've seen a couple of comments on our tokenomics over the last few weeks. I guess we haven't been clear enough in that 34% of our token supply is meant for as rewards by interacting with the platform. So ecosystem growth, which is a section in our tokenomics, will be renamed. We'll be announcing that soon, and that is only intended to be rewards to the users that are using the platform. So we think that we've created some really solid tokenomics that will be giving out the Metera token over the next 10 years. We want to make sure that if we are preparing ourselves to handle a lot of TVL and for us to be an entry point of liquidity into the Cardano ecosystem, that we have a utility token that is allocated over a long and sustainable period.
Agreed. You have to have some incentives and you have to have a long-term vision when it comes to this entire space. So I don't fault you there at all. Again, I'll be sharing those updated tokenomics here once those are available for the general public. Ladies and gentlemen, we've got Daniel Sampson here, CEO and head honcho for the Metera protocol, bringing decentralized index funds and an opportunity to invest in a broad amount of crypto here in the Cardano network. As always, if you guys enjoyed this particular video, I would appreciate you if you guys could tap that like button. If it's your first time stopping by the channel and more content like this, consider subscribing. And if you guys have any questions for myself or Daniel, I'll go ahead and leave the links to everything surrounding Metera down below, but don't hesitate to leave those comments down there in the bottom section of the video. On that note, we'll catch you both in the next video.